North Korea missile brushes against South Korea border. Ukraine grain export deal resumes. New Zealand house prices post first annual drop in 11 years. China's property crash sends billionaires' founders running. Cooling chili prices help ease Indonesia's rising inflation. Portugal likely to scrap much-criticized golden visa scheme. Elon Musk's Twitter faces exodus of advertisers and executives. Learn how to pronounce Qatar like a local.
Hello, I'm Jolie. Thank you for joining us on FUNDAY News. It is Thursday, November 3rd, and here are your top stories. According to the South Korea Joint Chiefs of Staff, North Korea launched 23 missiles of various kinds of its eastern and western coast Wednesday. One of the missiles flew towards South Korea's Ulsan Island before landing at a site 167 kilometers northwest of the island and 26 kilometers away from the rival sea border. South Korea's military said it was the first time a North Korean missile had landed so close to the sea border since the country's division in 1948.
Later on Wednesday, South Korea's military said its fighter jet fired 3 precision-guided missiles to the site near the rival's eastern sea border in response to North Korea's provocation. Earlier in the day, Japanese Defense Minister Yasukazu Hamada told reporters that at least 2 ballistic missiles fired by North Korea showed a possible irregular trajectory. This suggests the missiles were the North's highly maneuverable, nuclear-capable KN-23 missiles, which is modeled on Russia's Islander missile.
Russia said on Wednesday it would resume its participation in a deal freeing up grain exports from Ukraine, reversing a move that world leaders warned would increase hunger globally. The Russian Defense Ministry justified the change by saying it had received guarantees from Ukraine that it would not use the Black Sea grain corridor for military operations against Russia. Kyiv did not immediately provide comment, but has denied using the shipping corridor as cover for attacks in the past.
The Russia Defense Ministry said Kyiv guaranteed the non-use of the humanitarian corridor and Ukrainian ports defined in the interests of the export of agricultural products for conducting military operations against the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation considers that the guarantees received at the moment appeared sufficient and resumes the implementation of the agreement. The ministry also said, thanks to the participation of the UN and assistance from Turkey.
CoreLogic New Zealand said on Wednesday that New Zealand house prices fell 0.6% in October from a year earlier, the first year-on-year drop since June 2011 as surging home loan interest rates discouraged buyers. CoreLogic head of research Nick Goodall said this all leads to reduced demands and contributes to falling prices. Bloomberg reported that economists are predicting house prices in New Zealand will fall about 13% this year and decline further in 2023, with a peak-to-trough slump in the market of 18 to 20% forecast.
The media said that the Reserve Bank New Zealand has increased the official cash rate by 3.25 percentage points to 3.5% over the past year, and some economists forecast the benchmark could go to 5% or higher in 2023. Goodall said, for now, the impact of the regressive rate increase on property values and the border economy has been manageable and limited, but with each rate hike comes a heightened risk of a deeper and longer recession, and with it, growing unemployment and financial stress.
After 2 years of bad news, China's worsening credit crisis has led to defaults, failure to deliver homes on time, and an unrelenting market sell-off. Now, a new phenomenon has emerged. The founders of construction companies are quitting. Longfor Group Holdings' Wu Yajun resigned last Friday as executive director and chair for health reasons. Shortly after, Soho China's Pan Shiyi quit in September. An analyst said it's very likely that we will see more mainland property founders leaving important roles in their firms.
Fund investment officer at Metaverse Security in Hong Kong, Kakai Lam, said, the golden age of Chinese property is gone, and they probably don't see too much they can do to help. Bloomberg reported Wu once was China's richest woman, but has lost 2/3 of her wealth this year and has dropped out of the Bloomberg Billionaire Index. The media said Wu's resignation is only adding to concerns that the developer won't be able to rely on its relatively strong position to stave off the ongoing national crisis.
Struck 它是 strike 这动词的过去式 ，strike a deal 就是
学习，享受一个人的美好时光。FUNDAY 英语。
The media reported the harvest season and government market intervention helped cool the prices of eggs, poultry, and chili in Indonesia. On a monthly basis, the cost fell for a third straight period in October, while food inflation retreated to 7.04% versus 8.69% in September. Energy costs surged 17%. But Indonesia's headline inflation rose just only 5.71% year-on-year, much slower than the near 6% notched in September and expected by analysts for this month.
Supply disruptions and rising prices, more than 20 countries have imposed export bans on food products this year.
The media reported that consumer prices in Southeast Asia's largest economy fell 0.11% from the previous month, while the rollback in fuel subsidies pushed up monthly transport inflation to 0.35%. This was more than offset by the 1% drop in the cost of food, beverage, and tobacco. Market analysts said the Bank Indonesia expects headline inflation to peak at 6.3% by the year end. The core gauge is seen accelerating to 4.3% before returning within the 2 to 4% target by the first half of 2023.
Portugal's Prime Minister Antonio Costa said on Wednesday the country is likely to scrape its golden visa program, giving wealthy foreigners residence rights, saying that the 10-year-old scheme had already fulfilled its role. Speaking at Lisbon's Web Summit, Europe's largest tech event, Costa said several visa schemes offered by Portugal were currently being re-evaluated, and the golden visa was one of them. He said an official decision would be announced when the evaluation is completed.
We've seen that foreign investors have been coming in, buying out commercial real estate such as offices. 36% goes into offices, 20% goes into hotels, for example. And of course, the real estate is also continuing to rise here in Portugal.
The European Commission has called on EU governments to end national programs to sell citizenship to investors, which the bloc has long considered a security risk. Britain scrapped golden visa for rich investors in February. Costa said Portugal wanted to continue to be attractive, with one example being its recent law, enacted on Monday, that created the so-called digital nomad visa. It allows foreigners with high monthly incomes from remote work to live and work in Portugal for a year.
The New York Times reported that Twitter is facing an exodus of executives and advertisers as Elon Musk takes control of the social media company. At least 5 top Twitter executives, including the chief marketing officer, the chief customer officer, the head of people and diversity, and the head of product, have departed the company in recent days. One of the world's largest advertising companies, IPG, issued a recommendation on Monday for clients to temporarily pause their spending on Twitter because of moderation concerns.
According to recent earnings reports, advertising makes up 90% of Twitter's total revenue.
According to people with knowledge of the matter, more executives may leave. Along with IPG, General Motors said last week that it was temporarily suspending its advertising on Twitter. GM is a competitor of Musk's electric vehicle company Tesla. More than 40 civil rights groups also sent an open letter to 20 of Twitter's top advertising on Tuesday, urging them to suspend their advertising on Twitter if Mr. Musk throws out the platform's content moderation safeguards.
Millions of people all around the world have learned plenty about the 2022 World Cup's host, Qatar. However, most fans pronounced the name of the country wrong. Lots of Westerners pronounced it Qatar and Qatar and Qatar. The Brits occasionally go for Qatar. Some Americans have done their homework and still somehow settled on Qatar. For a while, a few online dictionaries bafflingly spit out Qatar. All are wrong, but the Qatari state essentially gave up on authenticity and accepted a few of them.
It's the second biggest stadium that Qatar has to offer with a 60,000 seat capacity.
A Qatari government media attaché told Yahoo Sports the pronunciation in English is different because the word uses two letters that only exist in Arabic. The accepted pronunciation would sound like saying Qatar, but he said another way that also works is Qatar, but sometimes that sounds like gutter, so we prefer Qatar. Other Arabic speakers explained that the English word closest to the native pronunciation might actually be guitar. In Gulf dialect, the first consonant in Qatar is more a G than a hard C.
FUNDAY News will help you sharpen your English skills and keep you informed about international current events. If you want to know more about our other programs and keep learning about the world's most important topics in English, please click the link in the description below to join FUNDAY for free. I'm Jolie, your host. I'll see you next time.